So every time I click go live, it says it's preparing to stream, but
Okay.
I don't know, for some reason we're actually live already.
Okay.
It's the strangest thing. Okay, so more button. Here we go. Okay. So here we are. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today on Let's Talk with Camila. I am so excited for my guest, Jacqueline Cancelliere, and she's awesome. And I'll tell you why she's awesome and why I have brought her on to the show is because the term resiliency, the word resiliency, I think is something that is standing out for many of us during this pandemic as we are going through our struggles. And Jacqueline is going to share with us one of her struggles that she's been going through. But before we go through, let me tell you a little bit about her. So she's a certified support worker in oncology and palliative care, which it's a mouthful. That takes a lot to work with that population. She's also a Reiki master. So for those of you that understand the spiritual realm, she's awesome at that, and she's going to obviously talk a little bit about that. And she works a lot with people that have anxiety and depression and eating disorders, and that's something that's close to my heart as well. So we have that in common, and bringing her on board. So instead of sharing from a from a professional perspective today, which we'll do on another day, we're going to talk about, the personal perspective. And, so Jacqueline, welcome.
Thank you.
So excited to have you here today.
It's nice to be here.
Cool. So, one of the things that we talked about was your wedding a few
Yeah.
weeks back, and how you've had to go through many hoops once this pandemic got started in terms of getting it changed, whatever. So let me ask you, how has that journey been for you?
It's been interesting and long. So we were able to get married in September of 2020. And for anyone that's been married and knows the wedding process, we were about to get invitations started and COVID hit. So we thought, this isn't a great time to start doing invitations. So we made the choice very, very, very quickly to postpone to this year, July 2021. And we thought things will be great by then and we won't have to think about it. And January is here and not looking so great. And so we made the choice again about a few weeks ago to postpone again. So
I know you in particular, like many other people, have chosen a destination wedding. So to
yes,
add insult to injury, we're just also not allowed to travel.
yes, that was the biggest issue. There was things that were coming out in the news saying, cancel plans. We can cancel international trips at any time. Our wedding is supposed to be in Italy. So we thought that's a little bit too big of a risk
Yeah.
for ourselves and for guests. So we decided to do that pretty quickly when we heard that.
So why I mean, you've obviously lost a lot of money. I know with the first wave. How is it that you're still standing?
Still standing. So what I can honestly say has been really great. And actually, my fiance asked me this third time that we decided to postpone. He just said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "You know what? I'm sad and disappointed about so many things, but I'm really happy with our, um, I guess, quick decision." So as soon as something came in, like the first time, we just thought, what is the best decision? And at that time, it was, do we want to be stressed every day, every month, watching, looking at numbers, or do we just want to say no? Continue with our own life and our own struggles that COVID will bring, and then sort of pick up when we need to. And then when this happened again this January, we said the same thing. It was like, let's make a quick decision. What is best for us, the people we love? It's always an easy answer when you think of it that way. And we just thought, let's do that. So it was quick decision on what is best. Not letting ego get in the way. We all, like as brides and couples, we want to have our wedding a certain way. And sometimes we get I'm finding with other brides are very frustrated. They want their day in the way that they want it now. And the reality is that's just our ego. You know, you can have the wedding you want, just not now. Or you can have a different kind of wedding now. It's a choice. We always have choices. Um, it's, it's just picking what's best for you and your partner, with anything really. Um, and you were talking about like resiliency. We always forget that, to just push forward, right? To just always just push forward and continue and just keep learning. There are so many more challenges that have happened with COVID. And everyone who has truly, with all their heart, come up to me and say, how are you? I always say, for me personally, I said I feel blessed. We haven't had to, look at a death and bury anybody. We haven't had any severe health issues in our families. Everyone is safe. Everyone is happy. Our biggest challenges are just dealing with the disconnect between one another. But there's so much more to be grateful for. So I always say, if a wedding is the only thing that came out of COVID that is not so great for us, I'm happy.
Well, it's true. I mean, the practice of gratitude, and I talk a lot about that, is amazing to staying positive. So I can see that you exercise that as well.
Yeah. You have to. I think it's the only thing that can keep you pushing forward. I always think of one of the most basic examples of resiliency, but also just when we think of the word failure, right? And pause. So I don't have children, but I was a child. I learned how to walk. And you look at parents who, teaching your child to walk, and no one just picks up their child and their kid just starts running. That doesn't happen. And so you pick up your child and they fall a bunch of times, and then maybe they take a step one time. But there is not one parent or caregiver in the world that has ever looked at a child and said, I think this walking thing just isn't for you. Like we don't do that. We just say, okay, we're going to keep doing it until you get it, whether it takes you months or a year. And we push through, and we forget the way that we teach children, the way that we treat children. And I find that one of the biggest tools I have is that when I don't know how to speak to myself, it's always, what would I tell like my 4-year-old self? Because we're gentle with her, we're kind to her. It's always, don't worry, if you need to rest, do one thing at a time. With ourselves, we're not. We're very aggressive and we're very needy and we're hard on ourselves. So I think it's really important to go back to that, and that really helps. I also learned in high school, like I went through something very personal that about. I went through an assault, and through that, I actually left high school in grade 11. And at that point, I realized life doesn't follow a timeline. And it was one of my greatest lessons. It was very difficult at the time, but it was one of my greatest lessons, because you're generally taught, you go to elementary school, you go to high school, you go to college or university, you get married, you have kids. And so we just think that we follow this timeline, and you should be in those timelines at certain ages. And so when I had to leave high school for a year, although it was only a year, it's such a pivotal time in your life for all your friends or people your age are doing the exact same
Yes.
thing. And the following year, everyone was going to graduate. So it was even more important, and it was a little bit harder, but it was such a great lesson to think, wow, I'm still standing. Like nothing's really fallen because I'm not doing the same thing as everybody else. So I think our wedding.
What helped you get through that year? Like where did you draw your strength from? Because clearly, I unknowingly, we've created now today's theme as still standing. So you're still standing today, getting through this whole wedding issue. And I would say it's because you've probably learned a thing or two, like you've been saying. But what had you get through that year, that difficult time in your life? What was your mindset? What was your support like that had to get you to the other side?
So my mindset, there was actually a very important part that I remember so vividly. So I drop out of school, I'm home. My parents, like this all happens within a week, right? They find out about an assault. Everyone's panicking, everyone's emotional. I'm out of school because I can't study and focus. And I remember, first day at home, crying, sleeping in bed. Okay. Second day, my dad comes and comes into my bedroom in the morning and says, have a good day. And he literally was like, just relax, as if like I could sleep the whole day again and it's going to be fine. And I remember that. And they came home for dinner and it was like, I didn't do anything. And it was like, how was your day? And it was like, stayed in bed, cried, slept, like didn't do anything. And I remember it was like that moment where I just thought, if I don't do something, I'm going to do nothing all year and I'm going to feel like this. And I don't want to feel like this. So at that point, I thought, before I can even deal with my emotions, let me deal with my mindset. And the first thing I did, I was 16 at the time. I said to my mom, I'm going to print my resume. I'm going to go get another job, because I had a part-time job already. And I got another job. And so between the two, I was working full time. And that was a good distraction. It gave me purpose. And I think that's one thing that people in general need to find. You need to seek some sort of meaning. That job was not my forever job, but it gave me meaning. It gave me something to do. It helped me build new relationships. And that in turn allowed me to think of different things in different ways. So that I think is really, really important. You have to just pull yourself out of a little bit of funk, just a baby step, right? Like I said, that was a nothing job, but it was something to do.
You know what? You're saying something really amazing, because I tell my clients all the time, when you're stuck, go get a job at McDonald's. And they look at me like, what? What are you talking about? And the reason I say that is because you need to be moving. You need to be in constant movement to create, any kind of synergy or results in your life. And so I hear you saying that. You said from the very beginning, we just made a decision, my fiance and I made a decision to just, we're not going to do it this year and we're going to change things. So you're constantly movement. You're not standing still.
Yeah.
And that's what you did with the part-time job.
Yeah. Even physically, when you're not moving, it's like when you relax on the weekend or anytime that you get downtime, the more you do nothing, the more you feel like doing nothing. Right. So the more you stay with your sad, low feelings, the more they just sit with you. And it's really, really hard to get out of that. So yes, you just make a decision. And with all these examples, it was tune out the outside noise. Everyone's going to have an opinion on our wedding. Everyone still does. Everyone's going to have an opinion on like if I should have got a different job or if I should have left school. And so the other thing I would say that was really important in that time was support. And you have to find your support. That's very different for people. I'm very grateful. I have amazing parents who were perfect in that time to be what I needed them to be. And that wasn't necessarily conventional. Like there was a lot of things I didn't want to do that would have been very conventional and they were told to do. But when I said that doesn't work for me, they trusted it. And they said, okay, we're not going to push you. And so they were exactly what I needed from them. But some people, they don't have parents or, it's friends. It's getting the professional support. It's joining a community or a group activity. It's just finding anyone that gives you good feelings. You don't have to necessarily be talking about what's challenging you, but they are somehow helping you rise above. And so you need to find that positive energy, because when you're with everyone that's low energy, you want to stay low. And right now the world is heavy. I was just saying this to my mom the other day. I said, the world is just heavy energy. Everyone is just complaining. If we all just did our part and said something beautiful every day, we can sort of lift that. Everyone will leave the house a little bit lighter. Yeah. And that's what we want. We want to be around people that will just make us feel lighter without necessarily having to harp on our challenge or make it a main focus all the time.
Right. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to put the show together, is to tell people, bring stories to life, teach people, that there is something on the other side, that you can push through, and to have hope. And so your story is one of hope. You've been through incredible challenges in your life, and challenges are always going to keep going. You're still going through challenges in your life. And while most people will say, but it's just a wedding, who cares? But really there's a lot riding on this. There are decisions that you want to be making that you can't make right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is just a wedding, but it's impacted so many things. It impacted our decision to, buy the home that we were going to buy because we were getting married. It impacts the idea of children and that decision. It impacts our finances, right? So one little thing for someone is actually, it was one decision that does involve a lot of other factors for us. Um, so I think that when you go through anything, and we've all gone through challenges, no one is void of going through anything in their life at all. And I think that there's no challenge that is too big or too small. It's truly like how it feels for you. And I think that if everyone can just understand that any challenge that they've been through, knowing what that feels like, when you go to the store and someone is grumpy, when you call a friend and they're not in the best mood, if you can just understand how you feel sometimes when you're not your best, just to be a better person for them. Again, you don't have to address it directly. If you can just be a little bit of light and sunshine for them, you will naturally raise them up and it'll just be a better interaction, a better conversation, a better relationship, whatever that is, right?
Right.
So I think we just have to be more aware of who we are and how we can change the people around us just by being nicer. If you smile at someone, like a stranger at the store, they'll be like kinder to you,
Yes.
as opposed to like if you give them a grumpy look.
I
So
know. And you know what? Even with our masks on right now, you can actually see who's smiling underneath. I don't know about you, but I could tell, like you could tell from the eyes, right?
yeah, and I think that that's important. So I still smile at people, or I say like thank you, and I think that that's really really important, especially now with masks. Especially if you have children, children are finding it harder to catch that interaction and see that
Yes.
emotion. But it goes a long way. It really, really does. So I think if we all just, again, I'm sure you do this a lot in your therapy, if you just work on yourself and being better yourself, everyone around you will naturally be better. So it is important to seek out the support. It is important to rely on that, but it still starts with you. So if I didn't wake up that morning and say like, okay, I can't do this for even a week, or I'm going to be in big trouble, I could have done that. And my parents could have been struggling to find me help. And even if they found me the best help, it would have been that much harder for me to just push myself out of that or realize that I had a problem. Maybe I would have thought that that was very normal and I'm allowed to feel this way. And you are, but it should be for periods of time, right? I would actually allot myself a time to be upset or cry.
Yeah.
And
I
let's say,
teach that
okay,
too.
that's enough for today. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right? You
So,
want to
look,
cultivate that survivor mode in you. You want to cultivate that good attitude. You want to cultivate that positive emotion, right? So you can't let it overcome every part of your day.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the things, that I've always admired about you, and I'm sure that our the people that are watching this can actually get it because you're exuding it right now, is how wonderful you are, like your personality. You're just so sweet and you're calm and you're beautiful. And you've got this way about you that is like a magnet to attract people. And I would say the word that comes to mind is goodness, right? Like you're just all goodness. And usually people that have been through trauma, they have a hard time letting go. And so they harbor this anger and this negativity inside of their cells and inside of their minds. And they're not so easy to be around. They're not so easy at letting go of things. But that you'd like, there's this easiness about you. It's just so amazing. And people just love being around you.
I like life to be easy. I think that's why I always want to make things as simple as possible. I hate when there's drama. Like I just really want flow in my life. And I think it's interesting that you talk about anger and how things can, like traumas or any sort of challenges can bring anger. If you spoke to me when I was very young, I'd say I'm not an angry person because I'm not. But I didn't realize how I was hanging on to anger. And
Right.
then later on in life, as I continued my healing, I was like, okay, there's things I am angry about. And I had to learn that like that's not a bad thing, that's not like a bad word. Um, because when you consider yourself calm and good and all these things, you think like that's such an awful thing. Just like assertiveness sounded like such an awful word to me. And so it's learning the balance between everything. And that was part of my journey for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to join us and to share your personal journey. And if anybody wants to know more about, the personal struggles that you've been through in the past, I know that you've written a chapter in a book, Empowering People to Succeed. I believe it's the Bounce volume. And so they can, pick up a copy of that. It is an international bestseller. So congratulations for that. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you for any kind of communications, counseling, therapy, Reiki sessions, I don't know if you have a website or something, but we could definitely post it, or a number or an email, and then people can contact you directly.
For sure. That sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing with us today. Hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.